The Stock of the Day is brought to you by IG, Australia's #1 CFD provider. With over 17,000 markets and extended trading hours, turn US earnings season volatility into opportunity. Get started at IG.com.
Brickworks is out stock of the day. It's warning uncertainty around the timing of the US market recovery. Interesting, given what's just happened. Now, along with labour shortages, elevated material costs, interest rate uncertainty, and geopolitical risks, they resulted in lower expectations for sales. Its North American building products earnings expected to be significantly lower. Australia will deliver earnings broadly in line with the previous corresponding period, while property earnings will be higher. It comes as Brickworks flags a $74 million non-cash impairment charge for its North American business. And strong competition in the retail segment pushed Brickworks to close building plants and stores. No net profit guidance has been provided. Shares down around 7% or so in today's trade. Philip, let's begin with you.
It's a sell, even now. I mean,
it's a profitable
uncertainty. It's the second write down they've taken on the asset in the last 6 months. So we got a hint of what might be to come 6 months ago. Trump's only gotten worse, not better. We heard this overnight from the airlines. We heard it today from Brickworks. Uncertainty is not good for their business. They are exposed to housing. They are exposed to imports. They are exposed to people coming across the border to put the roofs in place to do the labour. So even though they look to halt their production in the lead up to Trump to try not have excess inventory, the world is imploding around them. So demand has fallen off a cliff. The cost of the other inputs needed to build, it's gone through the roof because of the tariffs. You can't get labour, so the cost of actually building has gone up. So their clients are saying, we just can't afford it, and there's a pause. Is that going away anytime soon? Possibly not for 4 years. You argue it's in the share price, and maybe in the share price 6 months ago when they first put out the trading update. You just don't need to get in front of this headwind, even at the current share price. I would just say shoot first and worry about later. So it's a sell for me because, it's not the wrong space, wrong time for Brickworks in the US, unfortunately.
Yeah. So why risk that exposure, Rudy?
Cyclical. And it's probably one of the better cyclicals we have, but it is still a cyclical. There's a very particular reason why you will find me not often, almost never, in cyclicals, and that's because they are very vulnerable when the tide turns. There's a few things in a broader context to point out here. I had a very brief look at their announcement this morning. The sentence that caught my attention is, things have deteriorated much quicker than anticipated a while ago. And I think that is the reason why markets are selling off. I think we underestimate how quickly things are deteriorating in the US. The other thing to point out is, if you paid close attention in February to the results season, there were quite a number of, not always large cap companies, but nevertheless, there were quite a number of companies that disappointed in February. And they were all pointing towards their operation in the US. So clearly, the United States, even before the last month or so, already was not firing on all cylinders, even though that might not necessarily be visible from the macro data. But I think the US, again now, is something that should be on investors' radar. And I think in a broader sense, I agree with the sentiment by Philip. You want to be cautious. Now it's not time to take on excessive risk or even the same risk that you were taking last year. Now you want to be cautious and conservative, and sitting on cyclicals that are very much dependent on what happens in US housing is now, without any doubt, is a higher risk strategy, and I wouldn't recommend it.
So it is I
wasn't there in the first place, but I wouldn't go there at this point in time. No. And if you're sitting in there and you don't want to sell, you better take a long-term view. And of course, ultimately, a company like Brickworks will come on the right path again. But nobody knows, given the uncertainty. I'm not sure whether 4 years is the term, but the uncertainty is definitely there, and it can take a long while. I mean, I pointed out this week to people that we shouldn't forget that we all look at the price charts and we all go like, look, all those dips, all those corrections, all those sell-offs, all those bear markets, they ultimately led to new all-time highs. Yeah? But on an individual basis, there are still companies in this market that haven't recovered from 25 years ago, yeah? From the Nasdaq meltdown. There are companies in this market, almost all the banks, that have not recovered from the GFC. Yeah? And that's not even mentioning the 2020 COVID. So while on a market basis, we can reason it always comes good ultimately, yeah? But that's not necessarily the case on an individual basis. And that's where, as an investor, you have to be careful in what you hold and for how long.
Well, so Philip, I'm assuming your 4-year time frame is framed around a Trump presidency, essentially.
Well, markets don't love uncertainty,
No.
and as you know, as we've seen, the uncertainty index has actually gone through the roof. The current version of Trump, so I don't see that going away while he's in power. He may. We hope the first year is the worst of it, and then we sort of get a feel of what's to come. But yeah, the Trump uncertainty index is through the roof at the moment, and it will only be reduced once he's gone, but not in the foreseeable future.
Goodness, the first year, we're not even, into the second month barely. There's a long way to go.
It feels like eons.
But even in cases where he said he would tariff,
Yeah.
okay, so we all knew there was tariffs coming.
Yeah.
And then the tariffs came and the market still
Yeah.
fell materially. So even when you know it's coming and then you see the form, it's like, oh,
Yes.
we knew it would be bad, but that's actually worse.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah. I don't
It
think
is.
this is the last Trump action we've seen that's worse than first anticipated. I mean,
Well-
we haven't spoken about what's happening in Ukraine.
Yeah.
How's he going to sort that out? Yeah.
Yes. Our program's not long enough to counter that.
Yeah.
All right, I dare say that's not the last time we're going to be referring to Donald Trump in this episode. That is our stock of the day, Brickworks.
The stock of the day was brought to you by IG. Turn volatility into opportunity this US earnings season with extended trading hours on over 110 key US shares. Get started at IG.com.